So here we are. There's a little bit of New Zealand right here. I thought I'd stop here. Doing a little trip. Pick up my Tricus bikers. It's just been a shocking few weeks. Okay, first of all, the teachers in New Zealand, it has been organised that they get paid through this outfit in Australia called NovaPay. And so they had the big protest, and government come up with a big pay rise for them. They should have started July 1st. And so July 1st came and went. And it seems to me they only need to make some adjustment to the values in a database. Because the media was painting it that, oh, they had to rewrite the system for 140,000 teachers, which is fucking bullshit. You get different types of employment in the education system. Headmasters, teachers, teacher aides, school bus drivers, and so in today's technological world, where the digital mechanism can handle millions of operations per second, a lot of Kiwis found that very hard to swallow. So there's a big backlash, right, on the old talkback radio. Because in New Zealand, the talkback radio thing, that's one of the primary points of political discussion, right? Where they that's the primary point of contact between the political system and the public. So anyway, the day after that, all of a sudden we had an 11% jump in unemployment, and up the far north there, they had a big outbreak of some kind of sickness, a third world sickness, right? And because they're trying to run away from it, eh? And then they're going on about mental health. Just recently they've come out with a report that the problem drinkers of the country are the people over 50. And this constant assertion you should be worried about something, or the replication of the function of anxiety. The Mueller investigation reported here by the MSS here, they paint that same old picture, man. They're only publishing the Democrats' point of view, Trump's point of view. The general thing about the media seek to be the big political player. They imply that they're the most important opinion, while telling us bad news all the time. That actually replicates the function of anxiety, doesn't it? So I really think that this business of the replication of the function of anxiety, and it is a business to them, eh? It really smells like it's the Catholic Church, because Catholicism has its fundamental element where the Catholic Church is good Everyone else is a bit retarded. There's something wrong with them. We're broken. We haven't been saved. And so that there's so many Catholics in media is a major problem for me, right? Because this constant is, you know, insistence that we worry about stuff. This is really like this threat matrix of religion that you've got to constantly worry about Satan. And so, you know, 2 and 2 got added up. And the Russia collusion thing, while it was obviously the middle class of America that voted Trump in, right? The Russia collusion investigation really is about concealing that fact. And they trump up this bogeyman in the dark, you know, because nothing's really qualified, nothing's substantiated. So it's all been done in the dark. And I know there's another instance in history I remember that they did this when religion invented Satan. So hey, it's just an observation. And this replication of anxiety, it goes a long way. Like women getting jealous, or guys getting jealous, you know. So yeah, the last few weeks has been pretty exciting. I mean, the real fundamental element is that the central bank's got no money because they've been printing money, quantitative easing they call it, since 1985. Quantitative easing devalues currency. Okay, so America does not have the best economy in the world. They're printing billions of dollars, if not trillions of dollars a month to cover their butt, right? And you know what? The Tino Party, if it comes to power, we're going to print money too. But not like as a general principle, as a and I'm not sure the extent that it's going to have to happen. But see, what they've done in New Zealand, right, is they've invited the whole third world into New Zealand, right, while maintaining this hostile posture against New Zealand society, you know. And now, oh no, now we've got a housing problem, now we've got a housing shortage, a housing crisis, you know. And on top of that, the immigrant thing, they altered the regulations so that speculators could take over the housing market. They allowed speculators to like dominate the housing market. And so really the real estate industry is really like the media, because they are overrun with money and the political implications of money. So everyone telling the news on the TV is on a 6-figure salary, right? This is in New Zealand, right? And in the US it's probably millions, 2, 3, 4 million a year. And so the likes of the media here, you know, it's been thoroughly feminized and politicized, and you know, the war of words where they've tried to dictate what is allowable to be said and what is offensive, and they've created as many vehicles for offence as they can. And this is a replication of anxiety. See, feminism isn't about feminism. feminism is about destabilising men. You know, getting men on the off balance and on the defensive. You know, get them off balance and defensive about something that doesn't exist. It's just words. Only the facet that consciousness acknowledges anxiety, that is the only reason it plays out like that. But as we know, as you may well be aware of the revelation of the 8 laws, language, anxiety doesn't control language anymore, right? And so that's the plan, man. I mean, something really good did happen. There was a land protest up north because somehow this major building outfit got a hold of this piece of land that is actually owned by Maori, and they're up there protesting, right? They could not part with this piece of land, man, because it's not legal that they have possession of it, right? And on paper, you know. So Maori are protesting. I went there, and it was a profound thing. It was like the Dakota pipeline thing in the US there. But you see, the thing of it is Maori, you know. And so with all this politicization of people, where everyone is very, very fearful of causing offence, well, this means the police as well. And Maori, they are not of the this Western system. They don't operate by those values at all. They've stuck to their guns, really, well, figuratively speaking, of course. They are still Maori as they were. I'm very proud of them for that, because I think retaining that ancient way, you know, the ancient culture, or respect of it and awareness of it, this could be a great help to, like, Pākehā, which are Caucasians from New Zealand, right? Because that's how we used to be before religion ruined us, man. We were just like Maori. We were tribal kind of thing, right? And we had real respect of family, and that was our main thing. And we had a balance with nature. We didn't see the value of going outside of the balance with nature. And what Jesus, right, came along, and then they, you know, I mean, Jesus came along, of course, they invented him, and because the Bible was set, the Jesus thing in the Bible was set 40 years after he died. And but the implication, if our people are bound by the belief that it is the expression of consciousness that is our primary belief, and this is forming our group and sense of community, Jesus says you'll be judged, and this individualizes everyone, right? And which is absolutely diametrically opposed to the way of consciousness. And we still roll with that. The way of consciousness. I mean, this is largely why New Zealand is like it is. You got every different nationality and ethnicity in the world living here, and I don't give a shit, man. Because I think this is Maori again. I think that Maori are here, and the treaty is there, and this puts a wicked, this is an immutable understanding for all people to come here. They can't seek to sing, they can't seek to be more important than other people. And so these people worrying about the Muslims here, there's 50,000 Muslims in New Zealand, which may be a higher rate per capita than most of the world in the West. All these Muslims know this, right? And that's a massive difference. So all these rantings about Muslims and the taking over and all this kind of shit, that ain't happening. That ain't happening because Muslims are aware of the treaty and Maori, and so this is a massively different situation in New Zealand than the rest of the world, right? And so you're getting some pretty good waves. Yeah, it won't zoom. Bloody thing. So yeah, so that's a little news update. Oh shit! Oh, it's still going. Now I was at the protest, the land protest, and I met one person. I met with someone, this beautiful Maori girl, who was part of the organising team, and I told her a bit about what I wanted to tell her, which is to reveal the revelation of the 8 laws, which is philosophically underwriting wealth hoarding and this compulsion to acquire more wealth, which is what the building company wanted the land for. And she put me on to another guy, Rupert, because, you know, I mean, language is important because it represents the expression of consciousness. So Rupert was a white guy that had, he was able to listen to it. So I told Rupert about it, and it was a good solid half hour, which is plenty to blow anyone's mind, I think. And I knew that he'd had enough information. Just 1, 2 or 3 of the senior data points, that's enough for anyone to think about at the first point of contact with the revelation of the 8 laws. And so we left and shook hands, and he said he'd contact me, and so I hope he tells people. Because the revelation of the 8 laws is what is different between Maori and Pākehā, the Caucasian here, because this is what religion has done. The promise that when you die you go to heaven, mixed with the belief that anxiety is wisdom, this has caused wealth hoarding. And then the bit there where you don't start living until you're dead, you see, that's very relevant, because anxiety, the political entity, has also the political correctness of anxiety, which is an instinctively intuitive thing, and that's how those details factor into the belief systems. People instinctively intuit that we don't start living until we're dead, and we instinctively intuit that anxiety is virtuous. Well, they do. And this adds up to wealth hoarding and the political system around that wealth hoarding, and how, while they've hoarded all this wealth, they then start playing a sport with each other about it, who's got the most, like all good Christians do. And because they think politics is a sport and we think that politics dictates quality of life, that's how they've ended up playing, they're using our quality of life as a sport. And this is part of how they do it. It's done specifically that telling bad news all the time is promoting anxiety as virtuous, which is the mainstream media. I mean, the Media Works thing in New Zealand, they own the TV station that say they are the New Zealand's best news source. And then they also control really just about all of the radio stations as well. And then you've got TVNZ, which is the state television, which just run cooking shows, police programs, highly politicised documentary things like the 2020 thing, the 60 Minutes thing, highly politicised stories. They'll drag up a hideous murder from 20 years ago. You know, rather than tell news about New Zealand, they'll say, oh, mass shooting in the US, you know, the weather over in Europe. You know, anything, what they think of as news is anything that doesn't matter. And this is like anxiety, right? Because if they talked about things that matter, there would be able to be easily cross-reference and verification. And so when you're talking about something that doesn't matter, it's impossible to verify it. You know, because they go about it in a way that they choose things that we can't really compute because it's really asinine and retarded, and that creates apathy. And this is momentary at the time of the event, and then there's the staging of different subjects, right? That's very obvious. They stage these different stories, you know, it's to create apathy about the news, so we don't care about the news. So we're good little communist citizens. Effectively, that's what it is. You know, we just work away, be productive, and then they rake all of the productive wealth that gets created to the maximum extent, and that's why there's all these taxes. And so this whole system of things, of tax, being taxed, and the whole political status of the church and the media, and that's why it's like the siege mentality exists with money, because the natural instinct of people is to give and help out the next person. That's our natural instinct, right? But they're not allowing us to do that. The sport side of it, it's very politically incorrect to be generous to other people. I just want to make an apology right now too that I know it's been like 6 weeks since I made a video, and there's been a whole slew of subscribers subscribe, but as you will probably experience yourself, how life, it's like this running too fast downhill kind of carry on with how they imposed that view on us. And so for me also, I've moved to the other end of the country, and that's why I'm going back this way to Christchurch, get my trike, go back. And there's a bloody fucking, there's a big question mark going on, because at work, right out of my truck, there was about this much gap 65 they call it, which is 65mm size stones. They crush it, crush, and it ends up as 65mm, and they use it for the roading and foundation work and stuff like that. I was cutting that around and I lost about this much on the road, and so I've been ordered off site until they have their investigation. And so I haven't worked since Wednesday. And the simple fact of it is, I went up there last night to the space to see if they'd cleaned it up, and there's one stone still there, one stone. But as I think really what it is, the seriousness of it is dictated by people that believe that anxiety is virtuous, leap on any opportunity to exercise power over people and be as vindictive, as malicious as they can to give the political optics of more power. And so it's going to run through everyone who wants a piece of that pie. And that's what the fact of that is, man. The beautiful, lovely girl on the gate of the site I was carting out of, she recognised that, because like she was Maori, and there's a very intense battlefield goes on with Maori about the replication of the function of anxiety, and this is why so many of them, I mean, at a minimum, this is why so many of them at a minimum don't value education. They hit the booze, they hit the drugs, they go to crime, they just become statistics, man, because they have this idea drilled into them at a very early age from what they witness as small babies and small children, that you shouldn't even bother trying, because the political optics of that kind of thing is that a person is worthless. And Maori are very bad for this, and this is like the statistics of Maori. And again, as you may well guess, that this business of the bad news getting the attention, well, actually the vast majority of Maori, we never hear from them, because they are very solid workers. They have a very amazing family situation, and they're very, man, they're content that they have family. They are content, and this, we never hear from these people. The news definitely, you know, for forever, my whole life, all they published in the media was the criminal, you know, the news of Maori was only the criminal stuff. That was it. Crime news reports, and so many people don't even know Maori. They've never met Maori, because that first impression that that is of a criminal story nature, it puts people off, you know, because it triggers their anxieties, right? And this is the massive rip-off going on, huge, massive fraud, robbery that is going on. Because while consciousness acknowledges anxiety, anxiety does not acknowledge consciousness. And that's why they seem like, you know, the powers that be, you know, which is also Nazi family members, you know, and you may well know what I mean by that. They're always finding something wrong. They're always wanting to blame someone for something. And this has this chilling effect. And because of the power structure of anxiety and consciousness, consciousness always acquiesces to that, because consciousness acknowledges anxiety. And they make it sound like a really serious anxiety, and that sets the political hierarchy. And hopefully, with the revelation of the 8 laws, we can have these people, the best of us, can come out with confidence and take the leading role in any discussion, instead of letting anxiety get centre stage all the time consciousness may have centre stage, because this thing of the family, that is what is centre stage, and this is why people are content, because they have consciousness, and that's why they're content. And so that's worth focusing on. That's worth focusing on right there. Consciousness is emotional substance. You know, you have emotional substance, you feel safe, you feel secure, you feel there is a path ahead of you that you can cope with. You are grasping for rungs to move along. You're enthusiastic. But people under the influence of a tyranny of anxiety, they are withdrawn, they haven't got any time or energy for education, because this thing, it strips the mind of being able to think. And so I think you may know what I'm talking about there. It's a tragic thing, and the great universe, the great spirit, has deemed it time that something may be done about it, and this is the purpose of the message, that is an amnesty, that is the revelation of the 8 laws. And that's what's going on. So I better carry on my trip and the shared experience we're having on planet Earth. And I'm happy more subscribers have come. My word has gone out in Auckland. I'm going to go back, I'm going to make another video when I go back through Wellington, right, the capital city, because I was in there early this morning, a couple of hours too early for the ferry. And so what I did, I had to improvise, right, and I got my little flyers, you know, and I wanted to stick them somewhere, you know, so people would see them, you know. And there's this main street through the CBD of Wellington, Featherston Street, and I was on there and I was sitting around, you know, and so what I did is I got Coca-Cola, because the biggest bottle of Coca-Cola is cheaper than the smaller one, and it's cheaper than a coffee as well. So I poured the Coke on the ground and I put the flyer on the Coke, and then I poured Coke all over it, and then soaked it in it, and then I stuck it on this, it was a kind of a electrical transformer fuse box thing on the street, on the footpath or sidewalk, as the case may be where you are. So 1, 2, 3, the political, the Tino political party side of it. Then the preface with the headline at the bottom, FB, Facebook, the revelation of the 8 laws. And then the 8 laws of anxiety. So we're going to go back and we're going to see if that's still there, because that Coke might have run out of it and it might have dried it on it. And we know Coca-Cola in some states can be a bit nasty, so we'll see how good it is as glue. And hey man, be happy, be aware of this. Be aware of the revelation of the 8 laws, and you may well be able to give anxieties. And as far as I'm concerned, that's virtual Jedi powers, man. So that's what I'm fucking buzzing out on, man. Including the wonderful fucking place. Okay. Hold on. Can you see it? There's a seal down there. Just there. He's having a sleep. There's another one. Anyway. Beautiful, mate.